Hello, Playmore fans, and welcome to the Week 5 Team Builder video. That is right, we're going to be doing the Team Builders separate now, so you guys can get straight into the battles on Sunday, while having a little bit more in-depth nerd time with your favorite coach, the General. Now, going into Week 5, we're facing Kyle A, and we're on a 3-game losing streak. Not fun. Not me. Truthfully, I think we definitely could have made it like 2-2 or so for our overall record instead of 1-3. But it is what it is. We get to bounce back. We still got to make playoffs. You're sweating, so I need you to wipe your brow, trust the General, and check out this matchup for Week 5. Because unfortunately, this is a tough one to bounce back from. It is a tough matchup against Sand this week, and just an overall like a good classic Gen 6 team that Kyle has. Latios, Clefable, Excadrill, like probably the second best, if not the third best Dragon Fairy Steel Core, with us being number 1, of course. Just so good. Latios can be a handful of sets potentially in this game. Clef, it can definitely be either SPL or defensive in this matchup. More than likely utility over some sort of like setup or offense though, due to the fact that we just have Metagross and Amoonguss. So very likely just to be bulk to counter the likes of Iron Valiant and Garchomp and potentially other members of the team. And then lastly, Excadrill with Tyranitar is absolutely terrifying in Sand, because Sandstream Boost makes this thing a terrifying sweeper, because obviously we do not have a ground resist, we only have the one immunity and Iron Jugulis, so that makes it very rough this game, especially if Kyle just wants to go with Choice Band's Sand Rush and just click EQ for free. I think it's very likely we would see like either a Soft Sand or Life Orb set though, with Earthquake, Iron Head, Rapid Spin, Swords Dance, maybe a Rock type move, but I feel like that's all he really needs is that coverage to really like just deal with my team as a whole. That thing cleaning up is terrifying, along with its Sandstream brother this game in Houndstone. That thing with the speed boost is also terrifying. Poltergeist is a very strong move. We can work around it with no item, but having no item it's very rough. And Houndstone's also one of his Terra captains. Specifically, Terra Fairy looks pretty scary in this matchup. Obviously, we can bullet punch him, and they do a lot more damage than afterwards, but in general, the Fairy boost is just... it's pretty tough, because he's able just to blow through our Cyclizar and Garchomp, and then Iron Valiant also doesn't do really anything in return now, so... I have to be very cautious of that Pokemon. Even a Fluffy set can be pretty annoying as well. I will say that I'm more worried in this matchup for the Sand sweeping potential. And then Tyranitar, the Sand Setter. This is very likely, I think, just to be like specially defensive, maybe a super effective berry to really support the team. But more than likely, we're just going to see Smooth Rock to get the most turns for Excadrill. That's just what I expect, plain and simple. Stealth Rocks, maybe Ice Beam for Garchomp, Knockoff for sure. Probably just a Rock type move after that, or some other coverage that he deems the most important. And then looking at the rest of his team, he can really just bring just about anything for the remainders. Houndstone being one of them, like mentioned. Tentacruel and Moltres are both amazing defensive pivots for him this game. Tentacruel obviously getting him hazard removal support with Rapid Spin, momentum with Flip Turn, and just overall great bulk. Can get up Toxic as well as Toxic Spikes, Knockoff, all that good stuff. Tentacruel is an amazing Pokemon. Very happy with its buff and Flip Turn this generation. And Moltres is also just so goated. I love it as well. Basically always forced to run heavy duty boots for the most part. But outside of that, it just does its job really well until you rely on it to hit a Hurricane. But apart from that, it's a really good Pokemon. So, and then he also has Vikavolt as one of his Terra Captain options as well, with Electric, Steel, or Water. That could be pretty annoying as well. Really good Pokemon there. Can put out Sticky Webs for his team, which is very annoying. But in general, Levitate with the Terras could be pretty annoying for Garchomp, so I have to be cautious of that. But in general, I would really only see this coming if it were trying to get up Sticky Webs, and that kind of be it. I don't really expect an Agility set against me per se. It definitely could do work against me, but just because of how good Sand is in this matchup, I think it'd just be better support rather than sweeper. But And then Ogerpong, this is just normal Ogerpong, no mask, so he is able to hold an item with this. I love this Pokemon. This is the Pokemon I picked up a championship in the offseason with, and Nat Dex. Has really good utility with knockoff. Ivy Cudgel is an amazing move, not making contact, 100 accuracy, 100 damage, high critical hit ratio, just so good there. Spikes, U-turn, taunt, all that good stuff. Very good Pokemon. I don't know how effective it might be in this matchup per se, due to Amoonguss, Iron Jugulis, even Hisuian Electro because of our Terra and Ceruledge. So there's a lot of things that scare it for sure. But Spike Set is always something you have to be cautious of. And then his last two Pokemon, we have Ursaring, which surprisingly is not Terra, but a really good lower tier Pokemon thanks to the buff in Eviolite this generation, with the evolutions in Ursaluna and Ursaluna Blood Moon. So that's very sick to see the buff for Ursaring. It is a thick threat that still puts out a lot of damage. And then he spent 1 point to get Mienfoo, which could do a lot of damage, and I'm not going to put it past him because he's going to use this thing at least once this season. I know that for a damn fact because I know Kyle. And I hope it's not against us, to be honest. Because, spoiler alert, I'm not really bringing a switch into Mienfoo, so we'll see. Alright, that was a long-winded breakdown. Now we're going to go into the team. We need to bring the spirit of Bubby this week. So first off, we have Bubby, the Cyclizar, with heavy-duty boots, Draco Meteor, Overheat, Rapid Spin, and U-turn. With a lot of special attack investment, plenty of speed, just to make sure we outspeed Lottie and the Ogerpon, and then as well as just having a little bit of the rest in HP. Draco Meteor is just enough to where we can always kill Latios after sand damage, and that's all we really need to worry about, to be completely honest. Other than that, Overheat's just really nice to throw on there, because one main thing is Excadrill, obviously. Otherwise, it can just sit in front of Cyclizar pretty normally, but we can blow it up with an Overheat, which is huge, because once again, that thing is a massive threat. We can also very well deal with a Fluffy Houndstone. If he stays Ghost type and focuses on spin blocking us, then we get off a lot of damage with Overheat if he is Fluffy, because if you don't know, Fluffy, even though it boosts your defense against physical contact moves, it also makes you more weak to fire type moves. So Overheat is huge there. If not, we're also just dropping Dracos on Houndstone if it is a Sand Rush version rather than Fluffy. And lastly, Overheat can also benefit versus the likes of Ogerpon and the Vikavolt, both normal form and Terra Steel. Rapid Spin, obviously get rid of hazards. He has a lot of potential hazards. Stealth Rocks are basically free for him this game, but he does also have the option in T-Spikes on Tentacruel and Spikes on Ogerpon and Sticky Webs on Vikavolt, so I have to be careful of all that this game. And U-turn for momentum, because this Cyclizar can do absolutely nothing to Clefable, so you want to be really cautious of that, as well as in case I'm trying to not give any free turns to Houndstone upon switching, or something like that if sand is up. Next, we have Bubby, Hisuian Electro with choice specs. We are running Terra Ice this week with Thunderbolt, Leaf Storm, Terra Blast, and Volt Switch. Terra Ice is very nice to deal with the Latios and the Ogerpon, which overall would just be walling or stabs otherwise. I really debated just going Terra Grass and nuking with Leaf Storm, or like Energy Ball and just rotating between those two moves, but I think it will be very beneficial to have a form of Ice type coverage just for those Pokemon on his team. We are soundproof this week, which is something I really didn't expect to use on Electrode when I drafted it this season, but it's purely because of Vikavolt. Since he's not Terra Bug or anything, he is going to run Bug Buzz, and he will not be able to hit Electrode with soundproof, so that is huge. That we're able just to sit in front of that thing and it's not able to hit us with its super effective coverage. That is amazing. I don't know really what other bug coverage he could bring in order to deal with me, because I think Struggle Bug is also a sound move, if I'm correct. If not, I don't care, because that thing's weak as dirt. So we'll do fine otherwise. Volt Switch is very spammable, especially if Excadrill is that sweeping potential and not something that he can really risk sending out in the mid game and taking a choice specs hit on. So we gain a lot of momentum there, and it really breaks through his walls of like Tentacruel and Moltres, while also being easy scout on damage for Clefable, whether it's special defensive or defensive, to help support the rest of my team. And the elite speed outside of sand is just so huge, because I really don't expect any choice scarfers from Kyle this week. Next, we have Bubby, the Iron Valiant. I think you're catching on to the trend at this point. We have Moonblast, Close Combat, Thunderbolt, and Vacuum Wave with the Expert Belt. Originally, I had a spec set, but Expert Belt really just helps us a lot more because we don't want to be locked into a certain move. And Close Combat is just better over Aura Sphere in this match due to Tyranitar getting that special defense boost from the Sandstream. To make sure that we're hitting it on the physical side and always blowing it back and doing just tremendous damage, even if it is Choppleberry. It's also very important for Exadrill. We get extra damage on like Vikavolt. If it's Terra Steel or Water, just having that physical option is huge because the Close Combat's just amazing 120 base power. It really goes a long way with Iron Valiant's also base 130 attack stat, which is huge. Even though we're not heavily invested in it, it still does a lot for us. So we are max special attack in order to get the most out of Vacuum Wave against Exadrill, because once again, that priority will go a long way once that thing is in sand trying to sweep us. Very terrifying, cannot exaggerate that enough. Expert Belt also just overall helps with the close combat spam, like I mentioned, and Thunderbolt once again for the Tentacruel or the Moltres. So very beneficial there. The 28 attack investment with close combat, I'm pretty sure that just allows us to 2-hit KO max HP Terra Water Vikavolt. I'm fairly positive on that. And the speed is obviously just enough for Latios and Ogerpong once again. So this is definitely going to be just an ideal breaker and hopefully that safety crutch for the Sandsweeper in the back. I do have to be really careful of Houndstone when I have this out, as well as Clefable, because those things just get a lot of leeway with this. Moonblast still does a lot to Houndstone, but if it's like a bulkier variant or anything like that, I just have to be cautious, as well as just like, once again, if Sand is up. Next, we have Bubby, the Metagross. This is holding the Air Balloon. Boom, boom. We have a ground immunity. Let's go. We have Heavy Slam, Earthquake, Stone Edge, and Bullet Punch. Not only does the Air Balloon provide us a ground immunity, but if it were to be popped, we then immediately have no item, which can greatly benefit us against a Poltergeist Houndstone. Because if he's not Terra Ghost on Houndstone otherwise, we 100% wall it, and I would very much expect it to be Terra Fairy this week. Potentially Terra Fighting. I would be really surprised to see Terra Ghost, but it has its benefits in this matchup for sure. Houndstone can go with any of its Terras if it's brought. Heavy Slam is very spammable against his team. It's not very strong against T-Tar, but obviously we still do a good amount of damage because of our, Steel Stab, and it's super effective in general. I think it's only 60 base power because T-Tar is also thick like us, but other than that, we're doing a lot of damage to the rest of his team. Kind of. Moltres, but that's why we have the Stone Edge, to hopefully hard predict that chicken and not get a Flame Body burn on us, because that would be a really big issue, as this is one of our ideal switch-ins and way to always kill Clef, because the rest of our team can struggle to kill Clefable given certain circumstances, so we have to be cautious of that. And then lastly, Bullet Punch, just another very important usage of priority in this game. Specifically, this might be more towards the Latios and the Houndstone rather than Exadrill, but maybe we need to get chip off with Bullet Punch in order for Vacuum Wave from Iron Valiant to 100% kill Exadrill. So it's always something to consider. Priority is extremely important in draft. And we have our fifth Bubby here, Garchomp, with the Expert Belt once again. Now, you might be vomiting as soon as you see 252, 252, 4 in EVs. It's okay, MV. Do not worry. It still has a specific reason, and that reason is that at max speed with a non-speed boosting nature at 303, we still perfectly outspeed a Jolly Exadrill, which is very important because Exadrill is likely just to be max speed Jolly, to always outspeed a +2 max speed weak armor Saraledge when Exadrill's in sand. So that's very important for him to bring that. I don't think he can afford to be adamant this game. I think that's just a little too risky. But we have Earthquake, Rock Slide, Poison Jab, and Substitute. Now we're hard-walled by Terra Steel Vikavolt, and I really debated making Substitute a Fire-type move instead for that reason. But the rest of our team really just deals with Vikavolt extremely well, to where I think we can remove Vikavolt from the game and this Garchomp can do a lot of damage. Because overall, Expert Belt with these three moves is huge. Yes, we don't have coverage for Latios, but I don't think he's ever gonna risk Latios until he sees all three of our moves, and at that point, Garchomp's already picking up kills, so that's very big there. And I think we can get a sub off pretty easily against his team. So I'm expecting this Garchomp to do a lot of work. More so probably just breaking. I mean, it might win in the late game. I would really expect my late game cleanup to be either Hisuian Electrode or Iron Valiant, just based off their speed tiers against Kyle's team. But it could be proven wrong. Garchomp might be able to put in all the work it needs to, because I mean, Earthquake for Tyranitar, Excadrill, Tentacruel is just obviously very strong stab in general. But we're trying to get the most out of that Expert Belt. That's why we also have Rock Slide for Moltres. Very big there. I do just prefer Rock Slide over Stone Edge just because of the accuracy. If he's max defensive Moltres, there's a chance we don't kill from full. But I'm willing to take that risk for more accuracy because I think this Moltres definitely wants to be more of a mixed defensive set this game. So I think we would still be able to pick up the KO from full in most scenarios. And then lastly, Poison Jab lets us always 2-hit KO max defensive Clefable. Even if he's... No, well, I guess Kebia Berry would save him from 2 hits, but the whole point is to hopefully safely get up a substitute and not have to predict, so Garchomp can do the damage that it can do, because if he has Houndstone, if he has Excadrill, and he has that Clefable, it can be very easy for me to get the prediction wrong, because he just has so many options, and at one point, it's just, you know, the percentages are low because something might be obvious, but Kyle might be in the head. You know how it can be. So substitute just gets rid of that. And then also, if we're able to just limit sand or force him to give us one of his sand sweepers in order just to break sub, that is huge. And then Garchomp just comes in again later and does the same thing again. And then lastly, we have our support Bubby to help us out, the Vaporeon, with Protect, Haze, Wish, and Flip Turn. This is mixed defensive to help us versus, well, the most we can against like Latios, Clefable, Tyranitar, maybe Excadrill, depending on the set, because Excadrill is very strong, Tentacruel, etc. So, basically the whole point of Vaporeon here with the minus speed nature and only 20 EVs in speed is so we can always get a slow flip turn off versus like Clefable, Tyranitar, Ursaring, all of that, to where we take the hit and we safely get in our offense afterwards. That's very big in this game, especially versus Clefable. If Clefable were to be a minus speed nature but not minus speed IVs, then we are able to underspeed it since we have that 20 instead of the typical 31 IV investment. So that's the reasoning behind that. And I just realized in Mox how annoying it is if Clefable is still slower than Vaporeon, just because of the things it's able to do with Thunder Wave, Knockoff, even just Moonblast spam, or anything else of the sort that would come into my offensive Pokemon because my flip turn was too fast. And I also had a few mocks with Baton Pass Clefable, so I would be gaining the momentum then if I'm able to get the flip turn off slower than he Baton passes. So that is huge there. Haze obviously really benefits us from avoiding just monstrous setup that he could have on his team, whether that be like a Calm Mind, Agility, Stored Power Latios, Calm Mind setup Clefable, Dragon Dance Tyranitar. I don't think we'd be able to clear a Swords Dance from an Excadrill because that would just blow us back. But we could also check like even a bulk up Ursaring and stuff like that. So Vaporeon, not necessarily the most important, just being a good bulky pivot at the end of the day. And we might be able to get some nice wish passes into like Metagross or Garchomp, which can be very big in the game. So this is the team. I'm still very scared about Sand in the matchup. Don't get me wrong. I really debated about bringing an Iron Jug just to have the extra ground immunity apart from an air balloon. But I really wanted to capitalize on just my offense trying to outdo his and control it and limit Sand, because at the end of the day, Iron Jugulus still is in the check if he gets one Iron Head flinch with Excadrill. So no matter my defense investment, which is really unfortunate. So I felt like this was the best option for the team. No Glastrier is a little sad, but I feel like this is the correct 6. And I really, really want us to bounce back against Kyle. It's unfortunate how difficult of a matchup it is in my eyes. But Kyle is a good friend, and I'm really looking forward to this battle. So I hope you guys look forward to the match tomorrow. Please be excited. We are bouncing back. I promise you. Trust me. We're going to get a win.